Hey guys, welcome back to Mark Holubetz the Vlog. Thanks for joining in. Today we have another interesting day. Two things. Number one, let's talk about some recent news that we heard from Lamborghini this week. Some really earth-shattering things for some of you guys who are real enthusiasts. And unfortunately, that takes us to the other topic, which if you saw last week's video, I had my Lamborghini Gallardo in for a pre-purchase inspection because I have an out-of-province buyer potentially for my car. And so today I want to follow up on that storyline because the buyer was very interested in seeing my car. I sent him all the records, did some remote videos because he couldn't see the car in person. So I did a whole pile of different videos, shared some of my documentation, the history, the records, all of that good jazz. I'd send him over the hot wire and we ended up making a deal more or less subject to a dramatic issue with the pre-purchase inspection, which really there weren't any, other than if you saw last week's video, you'll know what that was all about. And if you want to see more about the results on the pre-purchase inspection for the Gallardo, definitely be sure to check in on that video from last week. That's going to tell you the whole story there. But I just want to share with you what's going on today. So firstly, I'm going to be meeting up with the driver for a truck that was dispatched by the buyer who's from BC, essentially sent the truck out here, pick up the Lamborghini because, yes, the car has been sold. I sold the Lamborghini Gallardo. The money has pretty much been transferred, and now other than a deposit and a few little incidentals, we're going to get the car mounted onto the trailer, and we're going to get the car shipped off to BC. And I'm sure the new buyer or the new owner of my Gallardo will be very, very happy. I mean, the car is very clean, shows well, runs awesome. And again, you really can't find many around. Surprisingly, there's not a whole lot for sale right now in Canada. Interestingly enough, specifically the early models, there's just not too many around. So we're going to see what that looks like. I'm expecting the driver to show up here any minute now, and then we're going to start loading up the car basically and say bye-bye to what was the best part of 6 years driving my first supercar. So it's going to be a sad day, but again, it comes with mixed feelings, and you guys know I've talked about that in the past. It's always hard to say bye to a car that's, treated you well. It's been essentially part of the family. So we're going to have to unfortunately say bye-bye to that car. And, that turns the page to a new chapter in our life with the exotic car lifestyle. Now, of course, before we get to that whole trucking situation, loading up the car, I just want to share the recent news that we heard from Lamborghini. I don't know if you guys have heard that this week. Lamborghini this week has unveiled some huge changes. So in 2022, they're starting to introduce some new electrification to the brand. Now, we know the Lamborghini Cyan, that is sort of touching or scratching the surface. They introduced their new, I guess if you call it a hybrid, it's not really a true hybrid. There's a small electrical boost associated with that. Essentially was an Aventador-based supercar. And it's not a cheap car. It's a low-volume numbers car, so it's definitely more of a collector's machine. But essentially, the Cyan was the beginning of that whole storyline. Now Lamborghini has announced, starting in 22, they're going to start production changes. But by the time they move into 2025, the entire model lineup should be some level of either electrification through hybrid or possibly even full electric. Now, that is a dramatic shift, everyone. Dramatic. I can't tell you enough. From my perspective, that's one of the main reasons Lamborghini was near and dear to my heart was the sounds they make. They're so dramatic. They're aggressive. And they've never been accused of being refined. No Lamborghini is truly a refined automobile. It does everything very aggressively. It's loud, it's obnoxious. Single clutch gearboxes in the Aventador, single clutch gearboxes in the Gallardos always reminded you that the car was never quite as refined as some of its competitors. But that's hence the bull. And it was consistent with the brand. It was loud and brash. Even the old gear shift cars, they were great. I mean, a manual Lamborghini was always a welcome addition to any fleet. So those cars might be a thing of the past. And so I can't help but think that's why some of these cars might be harder to come by. Now, in retrospect, the buyer for my Gallardo, well, let's face it, maybe he saw the writing on the wall, and maybe some of these buyers are starting to get their hands on Lamborghinis while they can. Cars that aren't of this new generation, cars that aren't electrified. Now, it's a little bit of a sad state in a lot of ways because I know there's a lot of enthusiasts that are definitely being very vocal about this, and I think that's triggered them in new ways. And unfortunately, it's going to go two ways potentially here. Lamborghini's going to lose a lot of clientele, but potentially they're going to possibly gain a whole new different batch of clients, because there's people that do believe in the future and the electrics. And you guys know, like I've spoken about this in previous videos about where the future of the automobile looks. And you know, I'm not the biggest fan of electric cars. There's no secret there. Now, if Lamborghini went pure electric, I would honestly say for the foreseeable future, I wouldn't be interested in that. But if they're going to introduce a level of hybrid, almost like Ferrari, I mean, they're potentially going to be left in the dust if they don't get on board. I mean, let's face it, look at McLaren P1, hybrid. Look at Ferrari LaFerrari, hybrid. Porsche 918 Spyder, hybrid. All of the supercar main brands have all tried and dabbled and stuck their toe in the sea of hybrid. Now I guess it's time for Lamborghini to step into that same arena, because if they don't, they will likely be left behind. So with all of that said, I don't know, what do you guys think about the whole situation? I mean, Lamborghinis and the sounds and the brash performance and just that slightly less than refined driving dynamics is really what made a Lamborghini just that. Now, Ferrari SF90, you guys have all heard about that. Close to 1,000 horsepower in a mainstream Ferrari. Makes for an absolutely amazing driving experience. So you'd have to expect that there's actually a lot of benefit to come from, you know, adding sort of that hybrid technology. And so Lamborghini's getting on board. I think, you know, it's better late than never. And, you know, again, if they don't do it now, they're definitely either going to be forced to do it later, or they'll just, you know, be forced into obsolescence. So I think Lamborghini just has to sort of get on the wagon with this anyhow. Let me know, guys, what you guys think about that whole situation with Lamborghini this week, and, you know, and their dramatic shift to a different type of drivetrain. And, you know, anyway, that's my feel. I'm treading cautiously. So I'll reserve a little judgment until I see more specifics on it. But again, if it's just adding a little hybrid motivation through electrics, hey, I'm good with that to a point. But if it goes pure electric, then that's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, let's get the Gallardo ready for shipping. There's a few things I have to do to prepare it before the truck shows up. And yeah, let's get ready and see what happens. And there it is, guys, in all its glory, and it's ready for the truck. Sounds like the truck's running a little bit late, so let's just do a walk around and kind of have a quick look, and one more good look at the Lambo before it sets off. Here, let's take a look around, guys. White has always struck me. To me, it's very polarizing and striking. It also does a great job. I notice, you know, the lines. You really do see the lines when it's in white. And I think that it works really well for Lamborghinis because they have such chiseled lines, whether you're driving an Aventador or a Huracan or a Gallardo like this. White always looks good. I mean, you got all these really chiseled lines, and it really shows it. Black always looks good, sure, but you lose out on a lot of those lines. I mean, there we have, I was gonna put a Superleggera wing. Had I kept the car a little longer, I was probably gonna put a wing, but instead it's got the retractable there. Of course, we got tint all the way around. I think the new owner said he had to make that disappear because of his local regulations, but either way, who knows? And then over here we have the Performante stripes. Those are replica. I actually had those done myself. I think it definitely adds to the look of the car. Needed something there because it's a really broad front end of this car. And it just, again, it needed something to kind of add a little texture to the front end because it's such wide and white. It needed something there. So there is a have a look from a distance, everyone. Now, if you look around here, recently we did the tire stickers. Not sure, it's an acquired taste. Not everybody's in love with that look, but I think it looks great. It's very racy looking. That's why I actually put those on. I felt it just needed something a little extra pop because all that dark wheel, dark tint, it just was a little too dark. So I thought it needed some little extra pizzazz around the wheels. The looks of this, I mean, you look down here, the side, it just has a very wide and aggressive look to it. It's just a look that just honestly sticks with you for sure. Tubey insert. So this is the actual Tubey muffler that slides into the inserts. I had that done a couple of years ago. Let's pop that and see what it looks like underneath. Whoa. There it is, 5-liter V10, 500 ponies tucked away under the hood there. And down in there, of course, you can see down there is the sump. You can see that shiny thing, that's the oil sump. And then the gearbox down there. So that comes off, and then you got the clutch, which is brand new. That's freshly dealer service, so it's ready for another summer of fun and frolic. And so today's almost like a hangover kind of a day. It's the day after that the car finally left. As you can see, now we have the Jaguar in the garage and the Lamborghini is now gone. Sadly, I do miss the car. I missed it even the moment that the guys in the truck driver and the trailer basically took it away. I was already starting to miss it and wondering if I made the right move because, in fact, I was really attached to the car. But also knowing the gentleman that I actually sold the car to, he's obviously a car enthusiast. He shared with me that he's also got a 911 Carrera. Evident to me that he's got great choice in cars. But anyway, yeah, so obviously it's going to a good home. He had mentioned a car already arrived at his place in Vancouver, which is about a 14-hour drive from here. He finally received it this afternoon. And he had fired me off a picture of the car sitting in front of his driveway. Seeing it there does make me kind of wish at times that maybe I keep it. But you know what? I know it's going to a great home. So it was great to finally see the car made it there in one piece. After all, I barely slept last night worrying and thinking about that whole fact. Obviously, the guys driving the truck and trailer were professionals. But you know what? They were going through some shady areas. Obviously, having to drive through the mountain passes is always a little dicey this time of year. There's always some snow on the ground. And so you never know what you're up against. So I was a little worried about it. I'm glad to see the car made it there. It's just a really huge relief. Now, selling the Lamborghini, actually, I don't mean to sound like a drama queen, but basically it actually leaves a bit of a hole in my soul. And now I almost have to think about, what's the next plan of attack? What am I going to be doing next? The F-Type is absolutely amazing. It's a phenomenal car, does everything really, really well. But there's still that yearning for the supercar, like the true exotic car. And like I said, in previous videos, guys, I've been looking at a few different options. I have been considering a couple cars specifically, but you're definitely going to want to stick around and find out what I'm wind up doing and what I wind up picking up. It might be a while, maybe, who knows. Some of these kind of cars are a little bit difficult to find. But again, everyone, thanks for sticking around. And for those of you who haven't yet subscribed, please do. And for those of you guys who have subscribed to the channel and continue to stop in every single week, thank you again from the bottom of my heart, everyone. I couldn't do all of this without you, and it really does reward and keep me pushing on and on to continue creating great content, as well as sharing my whole life experience around cars and lifestyle. Thanks again, everyone. Hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.